So he worked every shift that was on offer, and at the time there were many shifts, many bank nurse shifts, and so he constantly worked. So from a statistical perspective, he was actually there more than the others because he was working more than the others. So it's not surprising that if there was an anonymous patient, that he would be on duty at the time.
The important thing to remember about statistical evidence is it's supplementary to the other evidence that was presented during the case. So it underpinned some of the things that the Crown prosecution were trying to say about Ben Gein's behaviour.
There's something more problematic here, is that when they started investigating this case, and remember they started investigating it on a Friday, and by the Monday, Ben Gein was arrested. So over a very short period of time, the weekend that they started investigating it, what notes did they look at? They only looked at the notes of Ben Gein's patients. So they didn't look anywhere else.
In fact, police had looked at the notes and rotas for the entire staff of the hospital. As well as that, the statistics were perhaps the least important of the evidence presented in court.
What you've got to remember about the statistical evidence is that it talked about respiratory arrest rates. It didn't talk about unexplained respiratory arrest rates. And this is the key bit. The key part is the unexplained. These people had respiratory arrests that should not have had respiratory arrests, and that is a significant part of the Crown prosecution's case.
What the case of Ben Gein establishes is the difficulty facing police and prosecutors when medics are potential killers. Patients consent to receiving drugs.
Patients form a very trusting relationship with their nurse. They're often the person that they would see on the ward day in, day out.
What's the verdict then?
Well, it's not rocket science, is it, dear? Got a dislocated shoulder.
And how old are you now?
67.
They would see them at times when they're most vulnerable, for example, in the middle of the night, or when they're in a lot of pain.
Let me flush out your mind.
Okay, dear.
So they can forge a very close relationship with nursing staff.
And when a trusted nurse supplies drugs to a patient, it can be very difficult to prove a crime if something goes wrong. The case of Ben Gein happened not long after Britain's worst medical killer, Harold Shipman, was discovered to have killed hundreds. Gein's defence team have always believed he was a victim of a panic which ran through the health service in Britain at the time. The jury did not agree. Ben Gein was found guilty of murder of 2 patients and attacking 15 others. He appealed. The appeal court heard evidence from new experts disputing the conclusions of the prosecution. Gein was on shift more than anyone else, so if a problem arose, it was more likely he would be around. And he was a good, enthusiastic nurse who ran towards problems rather than away from them. Gein's appeal was dismissed. Mark MacDonald is now seeking a criminal review of the case, so Thames Valley Police may need to be on standby. Who knows if Ben Gein may yet get another day in court.
It can be frustrating that people keep appealing against their conviction.
If you'd like to come through with me, I'm just going to check you over before the doctor comes. How are you feeling right now?
Can't breathe too well, but muddling through.
But that is the law. Ethically, morally, and legally, that's their entitlement to do that. And, as much as it causes a lot of work, a lot of angst for investigators and for the Crown Prosecution Service.
Can I get some help in here, please? Can I get some help?
And also, it uses an awful lot of taxpayers' money. It is the system, and when you allow people to appeal, that really is a cornerstone of the justice system.
The patient's fine, and Ben Allard arrives, and all of a sudden the patient is not fine.
I know it might look like that, but actually, I just go where I'm needed.
And people will exhaust that. They will challenge and challenge and challenge until they can't challenge anymore.
Ben Gein is serving a life sentence with a minimum term of 30 years, but he remains a convicted nurse who killed.